Here is the most offensive, absurd take of all. Someone I've never heard of. You guys are in the biz, so you might have. Democrat representative of Texas. What's going on with Texas? We got Jasmine Crockett and we got this loser, Jimmy Gomez, who had this take on it at a hearing with the CIA director and others, but this exchange is with CIA Director John Ratcliffe.
To your knowledge, do you know whether Pete Hegseth had been drinking before he leaked classified information?
My God.
You're an idiot.
I don't have any knowledge of Secretary Hegseth's personal habits.
Director Ratcliffe, same question, yes or no?
No, I'm going to answer that. I think that's an offensive line of questioning. The answer is no. I find it interesting that you want to... I'm going to answer. You asked me a question, you want an answer?
No, listen,
you don't want to focus on the good work that the CIA is doing, that the intelligence community...
Director, I reclaim my time. I have huge respect for the CIA, huge respect for our men and women in uniform. But this was a question that's on the top of minds of every American, right? He stood in front of a podium in Europe holding a drink. So, of course, we want to know if his performance is compromised.
Was his performance compromised because of a successful strike?
Back. Mister, I bring my...
you want to know, you want to talk about accepting responsibility? Do you think you should accept responsibility for a successful strike to make Americans safer? You want to focus on...
Unbelievable. By the way, apologies to Texas. He's, of course, actually from California. Can you believe the nerve of this guy?
No.
I can. I can. The Democrats are in such bad shape. Ashbrook mentioned it earlier, but their right now favorability rating is the worst it's been in over a generation. President Trump's favorability rating is the highest it has ever been. It's higher than it was on Election Day. The Democrats are trying to manufacture anything. This is beyond grasping at straws. They see that they are falling into a pit, and they're trying to grab anything they can. Anything that they think will let them get some kind of traction. Because since Election Day, they've been just getting steamrolled nonstop. Americans could not be more thrilled seeing criminals, illegals getting deported out of this country. The media doesn't want to talk about egg prices. Egg prices have halved in the past month. Yeah. The story that they were trying to push that, oh my God, Biden killed all these chickens and now Trump's caused the egg prices to go up. Everything that they've tried to get Trump on has failed. This is going to go down in the same line. They're going to try to make a story out of this, and I completely agree with you. The Trump administration should ignore this. Talk about the MS-13 guy you just arrested today and move on. Keep putting up W's for the American people.
This guy, Jimmy Gomez, according to a radio host in South Carolina, Brett Winterbull, was, before he entered electoral politics, a labor organizer. He was organizing labor. At the time, Pete Hegseth had a backpack on and a gun slung around his shoulder and was killing bad guys for us in Iraq and Afghanistan and down at Gitmo, dealing with the worst of the worst. So that's how Pete spent his formative adult years, while Jimmy was a mini Barack Obama trying to organize, in his case, labor. But he wants to besmirch Pete as a drunk because he says we saw him with the drink in his hand. What an absolute fucker. That is based on Pete standing up in front of a room full of people at a public event in which he was addressing, I can't remember what was the event, you guys? And like a whole
was
group
was this the NATO summit?
Yes.
Yeah. It was in Belgium. It might have been that. Anyway, look, he's saying this is him drinking booze. This idiot, Matt Iglesias, said, I assume this is the trick of the light, and he's not actually throwing back bourbon on camera, but it's interesting that the water looks brown. Meanwhile, it would have taken him 10 seconds to Google video from the event where it makes very clear the water was clear, like all water is, and that it was just a lighting trick. But like now it winds up in a congressional hearing as like he's been. This is so disgusting how they use this stuff to absolutely smear honest, hardworking men.
But it's also a perfect vignette into the larger problem that Democrats have when Smug was talking about their approval rating and what it is that they're talking about, this knee-jerk opposition to hugely popular things that President Trump is doing. Think about Jimmy's information flow. right? Think about the information that comes to him on a day-to-day basis to, one, conclude that that was in fact bourbon, and two, that it's on the top of minds of everyone he's talking to. Think about the information that has to go into that man's head in order to conclude those two things in a congressional hearing and not feel entirely humiliated by the question in the first place. You know, these people they're wrecked. Their brain is just broken.
It's so deeply offensive that you would get up there and actually suggest, and only in Congress can you get away with this because you've got a liability shield from defamation, to actually basically call him a drunk. Say like, was he drunk when he was tweeting this shit? But if not for nothing, there's zero about the actual text that suggests in any way, shape or form that anyone was impaired while having this discussion. It's absolutely defamatory. But they get away with it. To pick up on the point you just made, Smug, everyone's favorite pollster, or at least poll analyst, Harry Enton, was over on CNN doing a bit on what you just said on Trump's approval, and here's a bit of it.
His net favorable rating right now comes in at -4 points. Compare that to where he was when he won in November of 2024 when he was at -7 points, or March of 2017 when he was at -10 points. So when you compare Trump against himself, he's actually closer to the apex than he is to the bottom of the trough. And of course, that's so important because Donald Trump, historically speaking, has had his numbers underestimated. So let's take a look at the percentage of the country who say that we're on the right track. It's actually a very high percentage when you compare it to some historical numbers. What are we talking about? According to Marist, 45% say that we're on the right track. That's the second highest that Marist has measured since 2009. How about NBC News? 44%. That's the highest since 2004. Wow. The bottom line is the percentage of Americans who say we're on the right track is through the roof.
Yeah. His body movements are so great. They make the hits, don't they? Like he's like through the roof, and he's like, it's so high, it's down low, and it's segmented like it's out the window. Like he's very entertaining to watch. You don't go out and buy a life jacket when the boat is already sinking, and you don't buy gold when the economy's already collapsed. Clearly, others are heeding this advice as gold hit all-time highs already this year. It's not too late for you, too. You could have Birch Gold help you diversify into physical gold. Birch Gold specializes in helping you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold for no money out of pocket. One recent 5-star review said Birch Gold was, quote, knowledgeable, helpful, non-pressure. Get your free info kit on gold by texting the letters MK to the number 989898. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews, text MK to the number 989898 and let the experts at Birch Gold help you secure your future today with gold. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.